Hi guys, well it's not too hot outside today unfortunately, and it's snowing a bit. We've got like less than 1/4 inch of snow, about maybe 4 or 5 millimeters of snow lying on the ground at the moment, and in UK that is just the end of it. It's true to say we're not geared up to it, but dear me, a couple of days it'll be fine. It's kind of colder than I'm used to though, so I'm going to do a quick one today. We're going to use the Japanese water stone with a bit of water and sharpen up a gouge in the shed. Let's take a look. And here it is, living in its pond. There isn't oil floating on the top, that's just from the window there, making all that difference. So I've got the water stone in here itself. It's 1200 grit or somewhere around that. I don't know, I bought it so many years ago I can't remember. It's seen a fair bit of use. I like this top for things like the parting tool, which I'll show you in a minute actually, because that could really do with a sharpen. Did the turning project the other day. Check out my channel if you haven't seen that yet. God, in fact, I've done 2 or 3 turning projects lately, so check out the Twig brother channel and see it, and you'll also see more stuff I've got coming up this weekend. Anyway though, right, that is the sharpening stone, quite a big one. This is a water slip stone. I'll show you how we use that in a minute, in case you don't already know. Now, I'm sure a lot of you already know this stuff. Please forgive me, I hope you're enjoying the video, but I've never got vastly deeply into woodwork kind of all at once. I've had donkey's years of experience because I'm interested in it, but there's quite a lot that I don't know yet, and I tend to pitch myself towards beginners for that reason. But you know, if you're enjoying the video, great. I really hope you like it. Tell me in the comments what I'm doing wrong, because we could all do with learning. Now this little fella here is the artificial Nagura stone, which I bought at the same time, and we use this for flattening off the top of the surface of the stone. I like this method because I use turning tools and I use gouges a lot, and I find it quite hard working with that figure of 8 motion that you suppose, you know, kind of that kind of way, which we do to keep the stone flat. Now I don't mind doing that with plane blades and things, but I always get it wrong with gouges. So I like the water stone because it gives itself up, you know. You can see the dust, the sort of stone dust coming off it now, and there'll be more of it, ceramic dust anyway, more of it coming off when I actually start to sharpen, because the stone comes away rather than scratch the steel. It just very gently scratches the steel, just a little bit at a time, but it's remarkably effective actually. Get quite a good finish, I mean, considering it's 1200 grit. And the first thing I'm going to tackle is this gouge. It's I'm not going to be able to get a finish as good as this from the water stone. This was done over at the Turners on his diamond sharpening stones, but it's now, I don't know if I come up close, perhaps you can, it's not really focusing. Let's see if I can just focus it there. It's made it light up. The edge is just very rough now because I've done quite a lot of work with it, carving into some quite old hardwood that was rock solid, so that's going to need a good seeing to. And this is also what we need the slipstone for, because the slipstone has to run along like that, because we get a burr on the inside of the gouge, and I can't show you that, it's kind of like thinner than a wire, but I can definitely feel it where we dig the gouge into the wood, and the wood kind of rolls up a little bit as it comes away, and it pushes this edge back, and like rolled steel it is kind of stronger than normal steel, only it's very thin and it breaks off easy, but we do have to get rid of it because it makes a right mess of any workpiece. But just before I get stuck into that, excuse me, because I'm bound to forget, this is another kind of gouge, quite popular nowadays, but there wasn't anything like this when I started. There is a cable in the way, how annoying. Right, let's just get that over there. Brilliant. Also, so I think, flexcut, made in USA. It's really good stuff, but it's spring steel and it doesn't sharpen like normal steel. I've often thought this might sharpen on the kind of green stone that people use when they're sharpening tungsten carbide tools or TCT tipped tools. The green stone works best on that because it's so incredibly hard. I wonder if it might work on this. This again has been diamond sharpened by the turner, but I'm not going to water stone it. It doesn't seem to respond well to that. and it's actually not too dull, because the great thing about flex cut chisels is, being spring steel, it's incredibly hard wearing. You know, for donkey's years, the traditionalists didn't like it because it's not an easy one to sharpen, and naturally, you know, you want to get your tools and sharpen them. It goes back to a tradition right back to the time of the Industrial Revolution in UK here and other parts of the world. Before that, when you started working somewhere, you would have to buy your own tools, even if you were an apprentice. And for apprentices, usually the factory owner or the master would actually buy them the tools, but they would have to pay a dear price for them over the years as they worked there. It would take them a long time to pay these things off. Also, this is where the expression the sack comes in. I'm going right off the point now, but it's fun. When people got the sack, it was because if they were going to leave a job, they had to have a sack to put all their stuff in, because the tools actually belonged to them. And even in the nasty old days of kind of, you know, rich factory owners and, you know, bad things happening towards like labour rights and that kind of thing, even in those days, that much was respected, you know, that they were actually supposed to be able to keep their tools, whatever else had happened, because someone's tools are so important. So that means, you know, we've all got this idea of tools, and I certainly have in a big way. It's kind of gone down. It's changed, not gone down. I'm sorry. It's not actually worse. It's different. It's changed since the time I began in quite a big way, and I see it as a good thing to get a tool that's going to last me pretty much for the rest of time. I was turning the other day with a bowl gouge. I showed you the Sorby fingernail bowl gouge, but you know the bowl gouge I used on the lidded dish that actually unfortunately came apart? That one, that is my, what is it? It's a half-inch deep flute turning gouge. It didn't have a name, it didn't have a handle. I bought it and stuck a handle on it because I didn't have much money at the time. It's actually got the flute slightly off centre. I think it's a good quality Henry Taylor or something that went wrong in the machine. So it was cheaper because of that. And I bought it knowing I'd want to use it, you know, pretty much for the rest of my turning career. And I have been able to. You know, this is why it's important to kind of get the sharpening, get a knack for sharpening at the right angle. That is a really crucial thing. You do pick it up. It seems impossible, but you really do pick it up. So it's worth persevering. A couple of weeks and you'll be able to sharpen things. You know, it's a really good thing to be able to do. If you've ever bought, for example, a plane and it just hasn't worked, or it's maybe worked a little bit and then not worked at all and it kind of bounces along and won't cut, what it needs is a really good sharpen and setting up nicely as well. I'll do another video on setting planes up actually, because I have a rusty old version of that. A lovely, actually, it's a USA made Stanley jack plane, but I'll do that in another video. And just the act of sharpening and a few tweaks and cleaning it up a bit will make it cut like a treat. So sharpening, mega important thing. But you know, if you get these flex cut things, it might not be such an issue for you. I made my own handle, look, because I'm a tightwad. Didn't want to sort of pay their prices. Anyway, right, the thing to do now is drink tea. There is no point whatsoever, trust me, there is no point whatsoever in being English if you don't drink tea and eat Kit Kats, which I absolutely shamelessly love. Dip them in your tea. It kind of sharpens that. Oh, that's better. Right, still in its pond there. Now then, I've got to try and find an angle where I can do something you can see, but there's still light on it. So I'm afraid some of my videos are dark, but I am learning and I am ordering some kind of cheap bottom end studio lights to see if I can make a difference. We want to maintain this angle as well as we can. In fact, I think I'm going to bring the camera down. There, camera's in slightly better position. We want to keep this angle constant, although we're turning the gouge. We always want this angle to be the same. That sounds madly kind of difficult if you haven't got a tool guide or a honing guide or something. Don't be afraid to get one of those if you want to use them. I have used them actually, and they're very good because you do get a constant angle, but I like to be able to kind of do these things myself. So what I do, I lie it down and the edge is right up off the stone there, and I just bring it up until I can feel more or less flat across there. And I go like this. Now this is just my way. if you're learning this from someone, you do it the way they teach you. Yeah, that's kind of quite important. Excuse me, I'm just trying to find good angles where I can actually get the sweep and keep the angle. I'm going very slightly from side to side. What am I saying? I'm going slightly more from side to side at the front than I am in the middle. I'm sort of turning it. Only very slightly. When I do a bowl turning gouge or a wood turning gouge, I tend to go more like that. Because of that thing where the wing catches. It's another thing that happened in my video of the making a replacement knob for the lid of my kettle, that video. And check that one out. You see, I snatched with the tool a couple of times, and it's because I haven't kind of refined the wing shape enough. Right, that's got that. Hasn't really done the job yet, but you can see we're having an effect now. Maybe you can't, I don't know. That's less shiny than it was. But the new edge comes right out to the front there. Going to take some of that burr off, that kind of fine wiry burr I was talking about. So we'll fish out the water slipstone. Don't use an oil slipstone for this, whatever you do. Unfortunately, I have got oil on this at some point. So keep it angled. Not angled, keep it in a straight line with the inside of the gouge. And I try to only rub when I'm going forwards. Just don't want to pull the burr back into it. We want to knock it off the edge because it's very, very thin where it joins on the edge and it just comes off. You can actually feel this without cutting yourself. You've got to push along that way. Oh yeah, that has got rid of the burr. Oh, except a tiny bit on the corner there. Let's just... take that out. Okay. If I was going to leave this, I would dry it, because this is one thing with a water stone, you know, the tools can rust if you don't dry them off afterwards. This just does not happen with oil stones. I'll break out the oil stones one day and show you that as well. My India oil stone, you actually can get a gleaming edge with them, and it's rather spectacular. Anyway, we've got that far with that. Just get it wet again. Just give that a quick rub over there. I've had this stone years. It only wears out a very little bit at a time. I got it from, let me see, Axminster Power Tool Centre. There we are. And I can feel it. When you do this job, you can actually feel it. It's kind of smooth throughout most of the arc. But as I come up to the wings, I can feel something. So I'm taking it off the wings, but I'm also taking it off the whole of the rest of it. So we come up with something even, which is important, because this edge is just getting way too uneven for my liking. Might even need to be brought up straight again. Okay, that's enough of that nonsense. Let's do some more of the sharpening with the slipstone. Ta-da. I go in both directions, so I come in that way and I also come out that way. Just the way I do it. With a wood turning gouge, I'd probably sweep all to the outside to get the sharpest point right at the edge of the wing, where you can keep it away from the actual workpiece. That way, that way you get three sharpest points actually. One on either side and one right in the middle where you want it. Okay, that is looking reasonably okay now. Give it a dry off. And what have we got there? You can see now we've lost the really kind of brilliantly shiny finish on it. Where's that one I had? There we go. Look, let's reach for this one. I'll have a cup of tea again in a minute. Right. Yeah, this one. Come on, come in shot. You're there somewhere. There, I've got it. The flexcut one. See how shiny that one is, right? this now is much less shiny, although it was that shiny to begin with. You can see we've just got a bit more of a wing here than I really want, but I don't want to knacker the whole tool. And that's just the sleight of my hand as I've gone from side to side. It's just the way I've done it. It's not a problem, you know, this is a hand tool that I will hold in the same hands that I've sharpened it with. And as complicated as this might sound, right, if you're into kind of woodwork and you want to go really into fine woodwork and not just kind of use machines to sharpen everything, this is really, really worth learning. It makes a huge difference to your skill level. So if you can sharpen like that, keep your own tools nice and tidy. It impresses people for one thing, helps you get on in the woodwork world, but it's just the results you get are that much better. So if you have a dull back to the edge like I've got on that gouge I've just done there, well, I probably won't bother polishing that too much more than that because it will work nice and smooth. But you see, the back behind the edge rubs the wood and actually gets dragged along the wood as you're digging the point in. So if you've got a really sharp point but a rough bevel, you will get a slight roughness, you know. Tools sharpened on grindstone machines, actually they're pretty good, but you do get this kind of hollow back. That can make them easier to sharpen off to a finish, but hardly anyone does sharpen them off to a finish. Most people take it straight from the machine to the job and it kind of snaps the very fine point off very minutely to begin with, so you only get the very first cut nice and sharp. If you keep the back its full thickness and really, really polished, you've got all the weight of the whole tool behind that edge, so you get a cleaner cut, and of course you'll also get a cleaner cut because it's that much sharper. Anyway, right, on to basic turning tool sharpening that I'm going to do in a minute. I'll only do this one more today. I'll do other kinds of tool another day because I don't just want to talk for 10 seconds about things. I want to try and actually sort of do something and show something. So this time we'll have a look at the parting tool. Cheers. Let's get that out then. So here is my poor tired parting tool that I've also had for 27 years, like a lot of these tools. I started turning about 27 years ago, bought these from local shops mostly. It came with these handles on them, which were actually polished at the time. They're beautiful things. Now, if I just bring this up close and find out where the lens of the camera is there. No, I can't really get it to focus, unfortunately. But across the top here, oh, that's better, just so you can see the light. Can you see that slight discoloration there? Now that is where I hollow ground this. That is, I put it onto the round edge of a grindstone on a machine, and so that makes a slightly circular cut in it instead of a straight line. I only did that very slightly. As I say, a lot of people just go all the way to the finished point with that. But having gone that far, I'm now going to finish it off on the actual water stone here. So let's have a go at that. Let's have a go at this. It's like -1 degree. That is seriously cold for UK at the moment. Okay. Oh, now I remember, I'd forgotten about this. Much as water stones are much better off living in the water, I do actually have to bring it out for some things, because otherwise I can't get the burr off the side, and I'm going to use the top edge. And you'll see why I choose that in a minute. How are we doing? That looks pretty good. Okay, so the same idea as with the gouge. I want to preserve this angle and keep it flat. So come right onto the beginning of the stone there. Just rock that up until I can actually see, you can just see the water just beginning to displace as the edge comes in contact with the stone. This was just about the hardest tool to do on a hand stone when I began, but a bit of effort. It still doesn't feel to me as if I'm doing it properly, and I defy anyone to do this without rocking at all. But this has been working for me for a long time. Fettles the tool up nicely, it does. Okay. Deburring is quite important with this as well, but we'll do the other face first. I've done this face now. We'll do this one. If you've been taught to use the figure of 8 motion, go for it. This is just the way I was taught, and the guy who taught me is very, very clever at these things, so I've just gone with it, and it does work. Possibly better with a Japanese waterstone because it does dish them a bit, and you can just kind of wipe that off with the artificial Nagura stone. Okay, now then, we weren't getting very good light on this, were we? I don't know if that looks any more silver to you than it did before, but it is, believe me. We've still got the little dark patches near the front, just by the end of my nail there. Little dark patch where it's hollow, but it's much less hollow than it was. Yeah, there's a bigger dark patch on that side, but it's cool because the point is feeling really quite keen now. But I'll just pop this back in the water a minute and get it wet. Because what we've now got to do is turn over onto the flat of it like that. Is that in shot? Yep, just about. And we're going to rub it like this, so that the end gets dragged over this flat edge without lifting the back at all, so we don't lose anything off the width of the point, but we do lose any burr that's just built up. And we can do that on the other side because it's very likely to have built up on both sides. And this is something, again, you can feel. It's barely perceptible to look at, but when you rub it along the stone, it's surprising how much you notice it. So now we just do some side to side, making sure the side is absolutely flat, because when we use this to part off, this face here seriously rubs into the gap that we're creating, and quite often that gap is part of a decorative edge, so we do want to be careful. Let's just give it a bit more, because I've now turned the burr the other way. We work in ever decreasing burrs until we're there. That's what we do. Now I'm completely vandalising the stone, but it'll be okay. It's been okay for old donkey's years, using the artificial Nagura stone to spirit things along. Okay, and wet. Got to keep these wet. Like so. Give this side a good one this time, because I broke off and talked. We've got it good now, I think. Well, you know, I'll be honest with you, I have seen better, but that is now ready to do battle. And I've got a plan for a turning video I want to do in the next few days. It's basically going to be small work, and I want to try and use the indexing ring on my lathe, on the back of my chuck on my lathe, to try and get a better job made of that. Exactly what it is I don't want to say yet, quite honestly, because I haven't thought exactly what to do yet. But I'll get to it soon, and it'll be good to have my tools sharpened. Well, there we go. Let me see now. Right, yeah, so there we go. We've done the hand gouge. Now, it wasn't a turning gouge, I hasten to add. That was not a turning gouge that I did to begin with. That's a hand gouge for actual handwork on the bench. I'll do a turning gouge or two next time, maybe even a bowl gouge, and we'll have a proper look at that. And then there's scrapers, and then there's all kinds of things. We've also had a look at the flexcut chisel. I love those things when I actually use them, but they've always seemed kind of weird to me. There you go, those sort of different strokes for different folks, I suppose. Well, I'm going to have another Kit Kat and a cup of tea again, because this one's nearly gone cold now. I'm going to go in the house and make one. But cold tea is good, actually. Cold black tea, right? Sailors used to use it as a remedy for seasickness. And I come from a long line of sailors. So, cheers. Have a good day, night, evening, whatever it is. Hope you enjoy yourselves. I'll see you again. Keep it Twig, brother. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's down there somewhere.